You're reading this one out, Dara. You have to read it out in the voice.
I did it for The Rock.
I did it for The Rock.
So, for anyone that doesn't know, Stone Cold Steve Austin was run over on Survivor Series 1999 before his triple threat match, and it was really to write him out because he had to get neck surgery. And this was a whole story back and forward, and everybody knew it was Triple H, but it turns out that they're like, no, actually, it was Rikishi.
That's so wrestling. It's like, oh, this guy needs neck surgery. We need to write him off somehow so he doesn't get injured. I know. Hit him with a car.
Again, something you don't really see nowadays, but was of its time, thankfully. But yeah, so obviously this was the big heel turn for Rikishi. Rikishi was a big face with Too Cool. And we got the infamous Bad Man theme music, which I've been humming because it's in my head now and I can't get rid of it. But this was not good. It would give us the Armageddon Hell in a Cell, 6-man Hell in a Cell, which had the big moment with Taker chokeslamming Rikishi onto a really, when you think about it, weird truck
that's suspiciously loaded with sawdust.
Exactly. It was, not a great angle.
Where was that truck going when Undertaker hijacked it?
And also, why was it near the arena?
Maybe there was a Henry O'Godwin match coming up, and it was sawdust for the pigsty.
It was just late. They're like, "Oh, we need this."
Oh no, maybe Pearl Henry O'Godwin just got released that morning, and they're like, gotta cancel the pigsty match.
Hold on, I have an idea. We'll write this in here. So look, this would eventually break down where it turns out Triple H was involved, and he hired Rikishi, and it was convoluted. It wasn't very good. But
what was your reaction, as a young fella watching this at the time, and it turned out everybody's talking about who ran over Stone Cold, who did it, who's all the suspects? What was your reaction when the big reveal was Rikishi?
Really? It was like, why? It doesn't make any sense. He's like, oh, he's my cousin. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. It was silly then. It's silly now. But at the time, WCW was being incredibly silly. So it didn't really hit the same way. It was 2000. So 2000 was a wild period anyway. And the shows were so good. And it didn't really matter. But it is...
Which would you have preferred? Rikishi or the other big Deus Ex Machina WWE used to use at the time, Hornswoggle?
No, Hornswoggle this was years before Hornswoggle. This was 6 years before that.
Oh yeah, but the Hornswoggle was kind of the gay for a couple of years that they pulled out whenever they were like, oh man, we've written ourselves into a corner here. We don't know where this is going. Just do Hornswoggle.
Well, I don't know. They're both equally as silly. I think with Hornswoggle, if he had have been there, he was that kind of agent of chaos. So you're like, okay, maybe he just did it for the laugh. But doing it for The Rock, and cutting that promo, it was like, The Rock didn't need your help. He was a multi-time world champion at this point. It's like he didn't need
he'd beaten him at WrestleMania.
Well, in 1999 he didn't beat Austin.
Oh, this is 99. Okay.
So to break this feud down, right? So it was Survivor Series 1999. The Rock wasn't even really in the title picture at that point. He had lost it was Austin and Triple H were feuding. The Rock might have been at the triple threat there. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But The Rock was established. That's the point I'm getting at. And basically, he wanted to remove Austin so The Rock and Triple H could feud. That was his reasoning. And then it would turn out that Triple H actually paid him to take out Austin so he could take out The Rock.
The scallywag.
Yeah. And I think if he had just been like, look, Austin is going away, that's fine. Because you know what? Earlier on in that year, Undertaker just walked out and he never mentioned him again until Judgment Day. It was like, that's a much weirder thing to do than Austin's actually injured because of Owen Hart. He needs to go off and get surgery,
But it's like it's so one weird. Of those strange things.
Sorry, 1 second. When it was revealed that Rikishi had done it, Austin came back and it was the most underwhelming thing in the world. I do remember that. I remember it being, the glass broke.
You didn't want to see him come back and beat up Rikishi.
Rikishi. Yeah, that was it. It was so underwhelming. And I think they knew it. Like, to be fair to WWE, they knew it almost immediately. And that's why they swapped back to just like, it's Triple H. It's absolutely Triple H. And then they'd have their blood feud going into WrestleMania, which would then set up a match with The Rock.
This is something wrestling, like, loads of companies, all companies do this at some stage, where they over kayfabe stuff. So like the thing with Owen Hart, that's perfect. Like, that's a perfectly good story on its own. Broke the dude's neck, and like you don't need to write stories around that. But for some reason, wrestling companies always feel the need to kind of overwrite these things.
Well, look, number 9 in the best is The Rock usurping Farouk as the leader of the Nation of Domination. Now, this is a little bit outside of our timeline because we haven't got there yet, just like the one above it. But this was a big moment. The Rock,
sensational,
became The Rock really at this point, and then it would lead into him becoming an instrumental member of the corporation. So without this, you wouldn't have The Rock. So I agree there, 100%.
This is a wee bit like one of those. It's a wee bit like the Austin 316 moment. Like, in hindsight, people think, oh, he did Austin 316, and then the next day he was a superstar. In hindsight, people think, oh yeah, The Rock did the Nation of Domination thing, and then the next week he was a superstar. It wasn't that quick, but this is the pivotal moment. This is like the tipping point.
Absolutely. The worst moment here, number 8, the Legion of Doom rebooting as LOD 2000.
Oh.
Now, I do remember this. It was not good. It really wasn't. We've kind of touched on it a little bit in our timeline with the LOD hawk alcoholism thing.
Oh, yeah.
This was not good. But WWE would do this a lot at the time. They'd bring back a tag team as the new something. The new Midnight Express.
Well, at least the
new Rockers. You know, it was never good.
I'm not going to put LOD 2000 over, but at least they recognized that there's kind of an unwritten rule in wrestling that the minute you're the new something, it doesn't work. Yeah. Like you say, new Rockers, new Blackjacks were another one that flopped. So at least instead of calling them new LOD, they did that thing that everyone was obsessed with coming up to the millennium. Calling Everton 2000, LOD 2000, with WrestleMania 2000. You know.
Yeah, and you would have Sonny as the manager, which I mean was an inspired choice, but still, it just failed instantly. What didn't fail instantly, and still probably one of the best debuts in WWE history, number 7, Chris Jericho debuting with the Y2J clock and then interrupting The Rock, which is still one of the best moments in WWE, one of the best entrances. Still, when that clock pops up, when Jericho does come back eventually, either for Hall of Fame or for one last run, that's going to be a huge pop. It's an instrumental part of Jericho. Again, though, like, he established himself so well here after his WCW run, which really wasn't great, and that wasn't his fault. When he moved on, his
WCW run really depends on what you're looking at. Like, he definitely did not get the support and the push he deserved. Yeah. But his matches were great, and the stuff he was coming up with, like the
conspiracy angle.
The conspiracy angle was amazing, amazing. And he went out and did all that himself. The company gave him damn old sport to do that. The stuff with your man, his roadie, who he made his bodyguard.
Yeah.
Oh man! Like, if they had gotten behind Jericho, like would have been huge for them.
But what I'm saying is, this like mid part of Jericho's career is still what he's most associated with. And even though he's done a lot more, you know, he has Fozzy, he has all the AW turns and changes, La Champion stuff, the Learning Tree, all that kind of stuff. This is still, like, if you say Chris Jericho to someone, they're going to go back to this. That's how iconic it is. You know, it's even though he was, like, it's kind of, it sucks for Jericho because he was at the point of the Attitude Era where he wasn't a part of it, but he really, really was, and
he was just on the other side of it.
He was just on the other side of it. Yeah, he showed up after it got big, and it was like the biggest thing. And he, like, even in his book, he says, after he debuted for 3 months, he just set up in the bleachers, which kind of sucks. But then he'd be, on the run of his life, on the way to winning both world championships in one night. So I mean,
it's actually, it all worked kind out well. Of like, and I'm not going to derail things because I think it deserves a wider discussion, but it actually is kind of funny the way people refer to the Attitude Era as just the WWF thing. When it was very much like WWF and WCW were both trying to outrage each other.
Yeah.
But I would actually agree with that. I think Jericho very much part of the Attitude Era.
Sorry, I'm laughing and I shouldn't, because the next one just popped up on the screen. This is one that I really want to cover on the show, because some of these we will get back to because we have to.
I actually can't tell if I think this is terrible or amazing.
I don't think this was bad. Look, objectively, this one is real. So, Big Boss Man mocking the death of the Big Show's father, right? Which is horrible.
More than mocking,
right? But that's putting it mildly. Big Boss Man showed up at the funeral and then dragged the casket across.
Not physically dragged it, hooked a chain to it and put it to his car.
And then the Big Show would jump on it screaming, "Not my dad," or something like that. And it was
saying the Big Boss Man mocked the death of the Big Show's father is a bit like saying the Big Boss Man got choked out by the Undertaker when he was in fact hung from a cell.
Yeah. So, here's the thing. I don't hate this at all. I don't think it was it's the Attitude Era. It was pushing boundaries. And this did actually build up a lot of, people wanted to see the Big Boss Man get beaten. However, it was the Big Show, and the Big Show can only do so much. And it wasn't a lot. So the match was kind of an oof. But this build was a unique build. I mean, here's the thing. You can't blame this on Russo because he was in WCW. This is 100% a Vince McMahon thing.
Man, I'm all for this. Look, here.
So am I, to be fair.
Who's one of the best heels around today? Christian.
Yeah, this is a Christian Cage
doing
angle.
The whole, your dad's dead, lol.
Yeah.
That's his whole gimmick, and he's killing it,
Quick, someone call up TK. Start going to graveyards.
Here, look. I think this is a kind of an awesome angle.
It is a good angle. Look, here's the thing. I mean, we've said that in modern wrestling you can't do certain things. This one you could do, and it would generate a lot. Now, obviously, don't go to a real graveyard, but you could gimmick this up. You could do it, and it would be. Oh my God, Christian, you've gone too far. The discussion we're going to have.
God, I can see it being something Hangman does to swerve.
So can I. I mean, that's the thing. Actually, that's a very good analogy. Burning someone's house down not too far away from this. But I don't think this was bad. No, was it in bad taste? Absolutely. But this is wrestling, and that's what happens.
And look, here's the thing. If you want to get across in a feud that two people hate each other to the point where it's not logical or rational anymore, then you need to be in bad taste.
But it's funny that you mention Swerve and Hangman, because while those matches delivered, the match that would I would say the only bad point of this feud in a real quantitative sense is the match that was delivered by them was awful. The Big Show by Boss Man match was not good.
Oh, so well, look, we'll talk about it when we get to it. But
we will.
I thought that cage match was amazing.
No, the Big Boss Man Big Show match.
Oh, that match. Oh, yeah.
That match.
Who was?
That's what I'm saying.
Who was logging into the Big Show Boss Man thinking this is going to be a 5-star?
But that's what I'm saying to you. They had a great build. They had the blood feud kind of thing, and instead of doing what Swerve and Hangman did, they just went out and had a bad match.
But here, look,
that's where that feud falls down, in my opinion.
Is that part of the business end of it? I mean, by the time people have seen the match, you already have their money. So
yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, I think that does deserve placement on the list, but not for the reasons that Joey puts it here. Anyway,
I might have had it on the best side of that list.
So would I. It's just once you take, I think you know what. There's a case made for it to be on the best and the worst. That angle was quite good. The match was probably one of the worst parts of the Attitude Era.
Yeah,
and that hurts me to say as a big boss man.
It does specify that it was the big boss man mocking the death of the Big Show's father. It doesn't say
the match.
The big boss man. It doesn't say the big boss man, Big Show 5-star classic.
Oh yeah, that it wasn't. I'm not looking forward to going back and watching that match. I'll be honest with you. So look, number 5, best Mick Foley playing his 3 Faces of Foley gimmicks.
Oh.
I think this is referring to it as a whole rather than just the Royal Rumble. But yeah, I mean, having Mankind was obviously great. But I remember as a kid not really being into Dude Love because I thought it was kind of goofy, and then loving Cactus Jack. And when he would swap back and forward, it was such a weird thing because you're like, wait, they're the same person. And then, obviously it would crescendo for me at Royal Rumble 2000, which we haven't done yet. We will because I really want to. It's, when he'd take off the mask, the Mankind mask after Triple H had beaten him around the place. He takes off his mask and he's like, I need a substitute in this match, and this Cactus Jack. For me, one of the best moments in wrestling, in my opinion.
Darragh, there we go. Like a lot of the times we don't agree, but in all of wrestling, that promo is one of my all-time favorites. And a lot of it is down to the same reason that the 3 Faces of Foley gimmick worked, because Mick Foley is such in addition to being an incredible wrestler, he's such a good actor and he's so believable. Like, this gimmick in the hands of anyone else would have been goofy and stupid, but because Mick is such a convincing promo, and because he backs up like the character of a deranged lunatic, he backs it up in the ring.
Yeah,
like this, 100%. This is one of the best things of the Attitude Era.
No, it was very, very good. And it's something that hasn't been done since, something I don't think anyone else could really do, except for maybe Bray. But then again, like, obviously Bray's didn't get to reach his full potential in that sense, but Mick Foley definitely set out a body of work in the Attitude Era that really can't be replaced.
Yeah, definitely. And in a sense, Bray kind of was doing it in the early part of the Fiend gimmick, when he was both the Fiend and kind of the children's entertainer
character. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly it. Worse, number 4, Diamond Dallas Page stalks the Undertaker's then wife Sarah. God. Oh, this was bad. This was real bad. I remember when this happened vividly, where you're watching Raw or SmackDown and there'd be like these clips of Undertaker's wife, and then it was revealed to be DDP. And as a WCW fan, then I was like, what? Why is DDP stalk? He has a wife. What? I just couldn't understand it. And the thing about it was, I get kind of why, because it was a big program with The Undertaker, but DDP Net wasn't made from it. They destroyed Canyon in the process. It was a dud. It was a complete dud. And DDP didn't need this. I don't think he ever actually recovered from this in WWE. With WWE fans. Obviously, he's doing fine now. He was, had a massive career after it, but it's a shame that they had one of the biggest names in WCW and they did this with him. And it makes you think, were the lads who set out their WCW careers right? Because, I mean, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and Hulk Hogan were portrayed like this.
Yep. Like, it was actually kind of an injustice, because the guys who didn't set out their contracts were largely the guys, you had Booker T and you had DDP and that, but they were largely the guys who were lower down in the card, and they weren't the guys who were like causing all the problems for WWE, but they were the ones who got punished for the existence of WCW.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of this particular one, man, some of these storylines and moments and that, they're on the list, because they were kayfabe bad, or because they were goofy, or there were storylines that didn't work or whatever. But this one deserves to be on there for every reason.
Yeah. Like, just because it was bad. It was just bad.
Yeah,
bad from end to end.
Not only is the storyline bad, but to take a guy like DDP, legit star, and put him in something this bad, but not just bad, like completely antithetical to what his character is. Like you could look at the entirety of his WCW run, even if he's being a heel or whatever, and at no stage is it anything approaching this.
No, it was bad then. It's still bad now. It is one of the low points of the Attitude Era, like really is. And also, not only of the Attitude Era, it's one of the low points, one of the biggest missed opportunities of the whole invasion thing. Like, here's the thing. This is when Sting should have come in. Not as a stalker, but this is when he should have had his feud with The Undertaker. At this point.
When the two of them could still go.
Could still go. It was still warm. It was still, super hot for the two of them. There was no...
Can you imagine?
I can imagine, yeah.
Imagine the business that would have done.
And for me, this shows the one of the biggest missed opportunity in loads of ways. Not only did they mess up that, they messed up DDP, they messed up Canyon. Everybody now knows Sarah, and it's deeply ironic because that tattoo is covered up and he's married to Michelle McCool. So it's such a weird thing. It's a weird moment that I'm glad is over.
I think is the invasion. Is it the biggest fumble in wrestling history?
No, it's absolutely not. It's up there. It's up there, but there are a few more. And that's a topic in and of itself, which we'll get to. But it's definitely up there. It's not the biggest one, but it is it's up there.
Man, I can't wait to hear what you have that's worse.
Yeah, well, look, for anyone that's listening here, we have an 8-hour series on the invasion that I did many years ago with former co-host of the show, Gary Herndon. So if you want to check that out, there's 8 hours of podcasts on the invasion. So that's why I'm quickly moving away.
If you're getting on a flight.
There you go. Absolutely. And it's up on the feed. I'll put it up on YouTube so everybody can check it out. Number 3, Stone Cold Steve Austin overcoming Vince McMahon's authority. Now, so anyone doesn't know, this was the storyline of the Attitude Era. Vince wanted a corporate champion. He wanted Austin to be that champion. Austin was not that champion. And then he would bring in everybody from The Rock, who was the corporate champion, to an undead wizard who would try to marry his own daughter in The Undertaker to take over here. And obviously, Austin would win and become a multi-time world champion. So yeah, look, this goes without saying. The Attitude Era doesn't exist without Stone Cold Steve Austin, which doesn't exist without Vince McMahon, which doesn't exist without this feud. So it's weird that's number 3, but okay.
Yeah, like an absolutely seminal feud. I mean, maybe if it's specifically the Attitude Era part of it, specifically the invasion part of it, like the McMahon-Austin saga was going well before that. And even the McMahon-Austin saga on its own, you could nearly break that down into eras because it's so seminal and so definitive, in all of pro wrestling.
And number 2, the worst, Vince McMahon being the hired power.
God damn.
I remember this one vividly. I was watching Livewire on a Saturday morning, and they were obviously playing this, and I remember thinking, damn, that was stupid. And it's still stupid. It made no sense. It made no sense and does make sense, but at the same time,
it was just Austin.
So bad. We've kind of touched on this a little bit when we were going through the Raws. The acting was really good from all McMahon's, and then all of a sudden, it's just a random twist for no reason. And you know what? I will say this. Sorry, this is one of the reasons that Taker actually was done with this, and he wanted to go beat a biker.
With spooky stuff.
Yeah, he was like, this is a bridge too far, and it really was. I think it stretched the believability of what he was to such a breaking point that he was like, look, I want to go to WCW and be a biker, and that's what they're like, no, you can stay and you can be a biker. But this was so good.
Yeah, I mean, so I remember seeing this not at the time because I didn't have Sky or anything as a kid, but following up on it years later with DVDs and VHS and stuff like that. And when it was revealed to be McMahon, firstly I was like, but secondly I was like, man, that would have been perfect for Jake the Snake. And it was only years after that I read stuff that said it was actually supposed to be Jake the Snake, but he was in the midst of his kind of drug and alcohol addiction stuff and just couldn't get it together enough to be allowed on live TV in such a prominent angle. Yeah, such a featured role. Yeah.
You know what though? It's like that could be true, but also it's Vince McMahon, and he probably just wanted to do it. So
yeah,
you know,
100 like
this
anything in wrestling, you take it with a pinch of salt.
And this is a case of going, you had a chance here to legitimately make something huge. Here, it could have been it could have been Hulk Hogan. It could have been because Hogan was, they had obviously things were very rocky in WCW. Hogan would leave a year later, and it wasn't really good there at WCW. Could have been Paul Heyman. They could have got in. They literally could have got anybody in from any point of the wrestling world because they could have just fired money at them because this was the hottest point of WWE's career. They'd beaten WCW, they'd beaten ECW. ECW was on its last legs, and there were a bunch of free agents.
And it's not like they wouldn't have taken the opportunity to jump.
Yeah, absolutely, because they would have, but the thing about it is, this moment marks a very interesting point because from here, as I said, Undertaker was like very fed up with this. You'd have Vince leaving the company for a while with a really stupid contract thing, and then he'd come back, and it would never be referred to again. That's what was interesting about this specific angle. It would kill the corporation to an extent. It would kill the ministry to an extent, and it would be reshuffled a little bit, which is the next one we'll get to. But it really just, I remember when it happened, it just killed it. It was like, like your reaction. It was just like, and that's not what it should have been. It was, you want to talk about a missed opportunity. This was it. They just fumbled the ball, and it could be, they couldn't get Jake the Snake Roberts. They couldn't get someone else like a Hulk Hogan or a Paul Heyman or whatever. But having Vince be it, so stupid. JR would have made more sense. King would have made more sense. Anyone else, even anybody else, literally an unknown. Hornswoggle, an unknown, or even Gangrel, whatever.
Actually, Gangrel would have been pretty cool. But even an unknown, you could have just created a character for him.
Yeah. Look, actually, who would have been a really good show? Father James Mitchell.
Oh yeah,
that's who you could have got. But then again, Vince was probably like, "Oh, I can do that." And there you go. And that's probably the story of a lot of missed opportunities with WWE, where Vince is like, "Oh, I can do that." And and there we go. So the next one, and look, I think this is an inspired choice from Joey, so fair play. The best, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon becoming a heel power couple. So after Stone Cold Steve Austin was gone, there was a void. The Rock and Triple H picked up. And here's the thing, I really want to cover these Reika shows from 1999, the end of 1999 to the end of 2000, because I do firmly believe that 2000 WWE is peak wrestling. No matter what you like. If you like the Attitude Era, if you like technical wrestling, if you like garbage wrestling, that's when they hit it. It's perfect. And it is carried by Triple H and The Rock at the top of the card. But what makes all that interesting is that you had Stephanie McMahon being the biggest you-know-what in the world with Triple H, being there and just
trash
being...
bag ho.
But it all comes from it, everyone was feuding with these guys, and then obviously Triple H, the whole point of it was that he'd keep his title. They were one of the best acts ever in wrestling, and it's mad to think because obviously Stephanie is a McMahon, and unlike her dad, she can actually take criticism, and she can actually do very interesting things when she's paired up with certain people. And it was an inspired choice. The two of them at the top of the card, literally and figuratively, but then also being the authority figures was a really, really cool thing that they caught lightning in a bottle once. And even though they tried a couple of years down the line and it wouldn't work quite as well, if you guys haven't seen WWE in 2000, do watch it. And we're going to cover it at some point because it's hit after hit after hit. WrestleMania was pretty bad. That's a real bad one. But other than that, I think that's the only dud of that year. What do you think, Martin?
I'm actually really interested to go and see this again because I get that the whole point of the McMahon Helmsley era was, yeah, Triple H keeps the belt, lol, like no matter what, even when he loses it, there's the whole thing with Foley and all that.
But it wasn't that he won it. It's that he, when every time he wins, you're like, oh god damn it,
Yeah, well, that's why I'm kind of keen to go back and watch it again, because I remember my feelings about it at the time just being like frustration.
Sure, JR would be apoplectic, on commentary, calling them all the names under the sun, and you're like,
oh, JR was great at that.
And that's what I mean. Like, it's one of those special moments that you kind of not had to be there, but kind of gets overshadowed with the Stone Cold Steve Austin stuff, with the Vince McMahon stuff. This is like a brilliant second act, where people forget, where you're like, oh, this was huge. And I genuinely think, like, even though WCW and ECW were on their knees at this point, this was like the victory lap, where WWE are like, oh, okay, well, we had this, but here's a great storyline, here's great matches. Oh, and all those guys there you weren't using in WCW, here they're coming in here to have amazing matches. So you had your Eddie Guerrero, your Chris Benoit.
Now we're going to cartwheel across the finish line.
Exactly. You also had the rise of Kurt Angle. So yeah, Joey's right.
Yeah,
Joey's right here. I don't think this should be number one, but what I would have put here is the year 2000 in WWE. I think that's a much better representation of what he's trying to hear. But that's just my take on it. And look, if you guys have a different take, if you agree with us, disagree, if we left something out, please let us know in the comments below. And yeah, we're going to switch gears and start talking about All Out.
Well, just while we're on the subject